first video in over a year. A little random, but I'm hoping to make it more of a consistent thing. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, let's get straight into the fights. First matchup on the card, Brando Perugic versus Elijah Ellison. Not too much initially to say about this matchup. There's not like too much footage on them, and from what I've seen, because I was only able to really watch like one fight for the both of them. Perugic is like decent in the clinch. Like he had like a crafty little trip. His elbows and his knees are good. I think he's at CKB, or he trains at CKB, so he trains alongside Izzy and Volk, so might be a good underdog pick because I think Perugic is a dog here in this fight. But I am going to have to go with Elijah Ellison because from what I have seen, he beats the eye test. He looks like just a cleaner, more technical striker, and he's on a better win streak. Yeah, Brando Perugic, he's a capable fighter, trains at a good gym. I think he's not going to get finished, but maybe comes out with like a moral victory, survives the decision. But give me Elijah Ellison 29-28. Second fight of the card, Michelle Montagu versus Luana Carolina. It's a pretty easy pick here. I'm going to go Michelle Montagu. She has 6 straight wins by RNC. So that's notable because she is obviously like a capable grappler. And I don't really know if I rate Luana Carolina. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with the trend. She's been winning her fights recently. She's on a good win streak, all by a certain submission. So obviously she's very skillful at getting to those positions. I think she's gonna be able to get Luana down, and I think she's gonna be able to sub her at some point. So I'm gonna go Michelle Montagu round 2 submission, and fuck it, we'll go RNC. Or Jamie Mullarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. Again, not too much to say about this matchup. I don't really rate a Jamie Mullarkey. He has a decent amount of losses. I mean, 8 losses, and we've seen him get hurt repeatedly, so his chin just is questionable. And say what you want about Rolando Bedoya, but I mean, we've seen him have gritty performances before, so I think I trust the chin more. I trust him not to get KO'd, preferably to Jamie Mullarkey, and I think he's a better striker. I think he has like more tools in the toolbox. I think he can throw knees when he wants to. Also, I think he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's coming into this fight on a losing streak. I think skillfully he is the better fighter, so I just trust him to get this done. So yeah, give me Rolando Bedoya as a dog. First win in the UFC. You know, Jamie Mullarkey's kind of on his way out, so I'm gonna just swing with Bedoya. I'm gonna say, take my shot, swing and we miss, go with Rolando Bedoya by KO in round 1. Finally, some like notable names. Colby Thickness versus Josias Musasa. I think I'm gonna go Colby Thickness round 1 KO just because Josias got finished so badly in his last fight. And also, I think it's just the smaller, more subjective things. Like, he does train out of the Congo, and that region isn't really known for having a lot of great MMA fighters. So I think I just rate Colby Thickness for his performances that we've seen already. And he won a round off of Toporia's brother, and I rate Alexandre Topuria. I think to have a gritty performance like that where given trouble against the Topuria and putting up the fight that he did, like that is a show of skill level to me. That is impressive to me. So Andre Petroski versus Cam Roston. Now, I tuned in to Dana White Contender Series, so I saw Cam Roston's performance, and I'm not gonna lie, comparatively to some of the other guys that fought on that episode of the Dana White Contender Series, he was not the most impressive to me. So I don't entirely rate Cam that highly, but I do think he's going to beat this test. I do think he's going to get past Petroski. Because we just saw Petroski have similar problems against Edmund Shabazian. Like, we just saw him fight a tall, lengthier guy and struggle to close the distance. So I do rate Cam striking enough to be able to just pick at Petroski from range. And also just because Petroski has been kind of a win one, lose one guy so far in the UFC. He hasn't had any, like, I guess, super convincing performances to me that would make me rethink, like, oh, maybe he could go on a run. Maybe this guy will be something. Maybe he'll beat a Cam Roston and win his next. Like, I don't know. I don't really rate Petroski. He has, like, athletic entries. Like, he has good entries and he has good hooks in combination, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough to get past Cam Roston. And I think I'm also expecting Cam's takedown defense to be better just because it was so bad against Torres Finney. I would imagine that he's been drilling the grappling more and he is a bit more competent now. And I just think skillfully all around Cam is probably better. I think he will more than likely get the nod. I'm going to go with a Cam Roston 30-27 decision. I think he might be a little hesitant due to the takedown threat. You know, Petroski might come in with a heavy grappling game plan. I'm going to go Cam Roston. I'm going to say 30-27. He just kind of grits a decision against Andre Petroski. You know, just one of those classic, like, middleweight snooze fests. You know, you see, like, just holding against the cage. But yeah, give me Cam Roston. Jonathan Mikulev versus Oban Elliott. Look, he has a good left straight. really good rear side body kick. Like if you watched his fight against Kevin Gisette, bro, his body kicks were like gunshots, bro. It was like this was some Chitty Ninja shit, bro. Like his kicks are really good. He has a good kick game. And also, watching Oban's last fight, he has led into head kicks versus southpaws. So that he might be at a disadvantage there. There's the chance that he could get caught by a kick from Jonathan Mikalev. I will say this, Oban Elliott is faster. And I think on the eye test, he might have looked like a little bit of a better striker because he's kind of just more diverse. Like in his latest performance, he was throwing a lot of oblique kicks out there, like mixing up the kicks. He's got fast hand speed and he is the better grappler. So I think skill for skill, Oban Elliott might be better. If Oban decides to grapple, Mikalev is a very big guy. He is very physical. If you see his frame and his build, Mikalev is a super muscular guy. So I don't know if Oban is going to be able to really hold him down or control him in the grappling or in those positions. And if it's on the feet, I can just picture Mikalev just slamming body kicks or just slamming kicks into the arms of Oban Elliott. I think I'm going to go with the dark here. I think I'm going to go with Jonathan Mikalev, 29-28 underdog pick. Oban Elliott, at the end of the day, his strength is his grappling. It's not necessarily his striking. And so I kind of rate the power and the physicality on the behalf of Mikalev. Loma Lukbumni versus Alexia Tainar. Loma is the only Thai fighter, pure Thai fighter in the UFC. Really fast striker. Like credit where credit is due. She is really quick on the feet. But I'm gonna have to go with Alexia just because she is a lot bigger. Like not only is she taller, but her reach is just significantly longer. Alexia just also kind of has a big frame, size advantage, explosive, pretty solid grappling. Was able to submit Molly McCann in like a round or two in her last. So I'm going to go with Alexia. She's on a good win streak. Just seems like the better overall fighter, just skill for skill. And usually those fighters who are more well-balanced tend to win in women's MMA. I think she might double it up like she did to Molly McCann. So I'm going to go round 2 submission for Alexia. Navajo Sterling versus Rodolfo Bellato. He's got good low kicks. He's kind of susceptible to the right hand. Kind of reminds me of Urseg. But I will say this. He is probably one of the most motivated, as subjective as this is, one of the most motivated light heavyweights. If y'all have seen that one video on Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. But Navajo Sterling giving his story about how you don't want to be a fighter because you don't understand the struggles of what it takes to get here. So I trust Navajo Sterling to get this done. I think he's a more motivated, more capable fighter, better all around. I'm going to trust him to get this done. I don't really rate Rodolfo Bellato, who was getting dominated by Jimmy Crute in moments, literally quit versus Paul Craig, was not out to the up kick, pretended to be out so that he could force himself to have a DQ. He is fast and he is powerful, and I think he does train with Pereira. And Rodolfo Bellato, he's a decent grappler, but for light heavyweight standards, I just don't really know if I rate it at all. So I assume that Sterling will be able to keep up with it. So give me Navajo Sterling, round 2 KO. Louis Sutherland versus Justin Tafa. Louis Sutherland, from what I've seen, kind of beats the eye test. I mean, he has a wicked spinning elbow KO at heavyweight. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt if you will, but it is a pretty sick finish. He has a couple of sick finishes outside of the UFC, so seems like he's putting together an okay win streak, even if it's not against the best competition. Seems to be in way better shape than a Justin Tafa, who is a bit of like a tubbier heavyweight, not as in good shape. So I trust Sutherland being in the better shape, the better record, beats the eye test, just kind of has more ways to win. I'm going to go with Louis Sutherland, round 1 KO. Classic heavyweight fight, just going to be one of those ones. Now, don't call me a casual, but I'm not going to lie. I was not tapped in with Tom Nolan before rewatching some of his fights, and holy shit was I impressed. Because Tom Nolan, bro, let me tell you, he is a guy who mixes it up. His striking looked amazing in his last fight. Was sneaking in, like, I think one of the times he threw like a spinning elbow into a spinning back fist, like back-to-back spins. Sometimes it's a little bit too telegraphed, but he does seem to be a pretty high-level striker, and he also threatens a lot of submissions whenever he's in scrambles on the ground, so I trust him to win this fight. I think he's better everywhere. I rate him more on the ground and I rate him higher on the feet. So I think he's going to be able to land on Charlie Campbell. And I think he's going to find a KO. Tom Nolan is a sniper. I think he's going to KO Charlie Campbell. Give me round. I'm going to say it's a gritty one, though. It's going to happen late. Charlie Campbell's going to withstand some of the early heat. I'm going to go round 3 TKO for Tom Nolan. Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny. Pretty simple. Again, Neil Magny, 13 losses. And he was very close contextually to being on like a 6-fight losing streak before he just got his last win. Which even that fight was competitive. So it's just, I don't know, I kind of rate Jake Matthews, and he has been on a bit of a win streak. So I think this is the time we're going to see him get over the hump. He's going to beat the Neil Magny test, as most capable fighters do. And he just passed a better test. He just fought a super tall, lengthy guy in a Chidi Njokuani and took him down and submitted him with ease. And I know Neil Magny might be better on the ground comparatively to a Chidi, but again, I rate a current Chidi who is a solid fundamental kickboxer over a Neil Magny, a current Neil Magny who's been on the, kind of L streak that he's been on. So yeah, I think Jake Matthews just had a tougher fight and passed in flying colors. So I think he's going to get past this test. Give me Jake Matthews decision. He's going to just kind of outstrike Neil Magny, outdo him on the ground in those exchanges. Yeah, give me Jake Matthews 30-27. You know what? No, Neil Magny is an OG. He can steal a round off of Jake Matthews. Give me 29-28 Jake Matthews. Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Erslan. Jimmy Crute, I just don't rate. 13-4-2. It just has not had a lot of good performances, and he just looks slow. A lot of his performances, again, I just don't rate. I don't know how good Bellato really is, and he was dominating Bellato in moments, but it's just, to still go to a draw with him on paper, that performance just does not look that good in retrospect. Whereas Ivan Erslan gave a competitive fight to Sterling, which I do think was relatively impressive because his boxing looked good in that fight. He's got quick hands. He does. He can pick his shots pretty well. So I think I'm going to trust Ivan Erslan to be quicker, have the better, solid fundamentals more in his boxing. I'm going to trust him to just outbox Jimmy Crute for a couple rounds. I think Ivan Erslan is going to win this by a 30-27. I'm going to say Ivan Erslan 30-27 decision. Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Taveras. I'm going to go Jack Jenkins. From what we've seen, he's had better performances against good competition. I really rate Gabriel Santos, who we've seen beat pretty good fighters. Jack Jenkins being one of them, but also having wins over a guy who we just saw in the Dana White Contender Series and a Jose Delano who looked really good on the feet. Gabriel Santos has a couple of really good, sneakily good wins, and his losses are not bad. Yeah, that performance against Gabriel Santos where almost finished him in round 1, dropped him with a head kick bad, had him hurt. Just showed heart too, showed grit, survived deep submission attempts in round 1 even though he did inevitably get subbed. I rate Jack Jenkins higher than a Ramon Taveras. Jack Jenkins is also more accurate. UFC stats show that. He's more accurate on the feet. He just lands more at a higher volume. Whereas Ramon Taveras, we just saw in his last fight, kind of throws low volume. He wasn't throwing too heavily against Davey Grant. Davey Grant was giving him problems. He failed that test. And if you're a good fighter, you don't fail the Davey Grant test. So yeah, I don't see a reality in which Ramon Taveras wins this. I'm gonna go Jack Jenkins. I'm gonna say Jack Jenkins makes his statement. Had a moral victory against Gabriel Santos, but this time he's going to come off with a win. He's going to win by finish. I'm going to say Jack Jenkins, round 3 TKO over Ramon Taveras. The main event, Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes. From what we've seen, and no matter what you think about the Jan Blachowicz fight, because I do think Jan Blachowicz should have won that fight on damage, but say what you want, Ulberg has looked like a competent kickboxer. He has looked like someone who can hold his own with the likes of an Uzdemir and a Jan Blachowicz from range. This is his game. He is a guy who's going to pick you apart from range. He's faster. He's the better technical kickboxer. And I don't think that Reyes is going to pose that many problems. Ulberg is a competent enough fighter. I don't think Ulberg is just going to get caught by the counter left. I don't see that happening. Also, I hate to say this as well, but if we're being honest, Dominic Reyes' 3-fight win streak KO run is kind of fraudulent. It kind of is. Like you got to like contextualize it for a minute. Dustin Jacoby, right? He's okay. He's a ranked fighter, yes. Like for light heavyweight standards, sure, Jacoby is okay. But do we really rate that win? Like Jacoby has like one notable performance from memory, and that is his what should have been win over Khalil Roundtree, which has aged well. Again, let's just think about the win streak. Dustin Jacoby, sure, fine, decent win. You got the worst version of Anthony Smith on a losing streak. Coach recently passed away, like emotionally distraught losing streak Anthony Smith. You got the worst version of Anthony Smith, and then you got a watered down version of Nikita Krylov, who was coming off of a multi-year layoff where he had disappeared because his country was in war times. So you got Dustin Jacoby, the worst possible version of Anthony Smith seen maybe ever, and Nikita Krylov on a multi-year layoff. I don't know how much I rate those opponents. And again, this sport, time and time again, we've just seen is so unforgiving. I mean, it already happened to Reyes where we saw him get KO'd multiple times. So this story, unfortunately, just seems too good to be true. I don't know if I see Reyes fighting for a title in the big 2025 or headed into 2026. I just don't see it. I think Ulberg is going to get the nod here. I think he's going to win a competitive point fight decision where he's going to win a 50-45 or a 49-46, or he's going to chin him early. Yeah, again, it seems too good to be true. This sport is just constantly shown that it is unforgiving, and I don't know if I trust the run that Dominic Reyes has been on enough to pick him in this fight.